It's quite
Hello?
extraordinary what the government has announced and what would be the long-term implications of the crackdown on black money. This is like a one-time reset, and which perhaps is the biggest reset post-independence. But in terms of transition, short-term implications, impact on the parallel economy, do you think the transition would be a huge challenge? It would be a big issue?
I think it will be some kind of a challenge. I don't know how huge a challenge it will be. And specifically, Nikunj, in the trader community, in the smaller businesses, I think which is and specifically in the rural areas where predominantly cash is being used as a mean of transaction. I think there will be some transition pain. But as you rightly said, this is the biggest and the most bold reform which I have seen in my life and career, that it basically puts a lot of issues to end, whether it is corruption, whether it is black money, whether it is handling of a parallel economy. And as people graduate, the more and more money which was stocked basically and which was not in circulation actually comes in the circulation. It comes in the financial market. And I think once the money is there in the financial market, obviously it will go to banks, it will come to equity, and eventually I think things should be very positive in the medium to long term.
Madhu, while Indians are counting notes today, Americans are also counting the votes. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword, if I can term it as that, for us this morning. And you can see a projection of that across global screen. It's not just us, but the world markets are collapsing right now, including currencies. As an Indian investor, what should one do now?
So I think there's a very clear, Aisha, this is going to be a systematic opportunity. As I see, even let's say Mr. Donald Trump will become the president. I think we have seen in politics, once you come in the chair, then of course you take the most sensible decision. So whatever is being talked during the election rally, I am sure once he becomes the president, he will do the most pragmatic thing. And one of the big positive which I see is actually expanding the fisc in America, actually spending the money in the economy, which I think somewhat should support. So there will be a knee-jerk reaction for a couple of days, but I am sure things progressively should look better. And one good part for the market is even though it is a surprise, it's not like a complete surprise. See, 10 days back this election was done in favor of Clinton, but last 10 days the market was sensing that it could be a bit uncertain. So it's not a complete surprise in that sense. So I would say from all perspective, if the market really dips, one should use systematically. So there is no point saying that I'll buy everything tomorrow morning. One should use systematically to invest money in Indian equity. And one thing I am certain, that there is lot more money which will come in equity than people are emphasizing today. Because see what happens to real estate now? What happens to people who are investing money in rural area in the real estate? What happens to agriculture land? Obviously this is a no-brainer to say that the prices of all those assets will come down and they will become illiquid. So where does the incremental saving go? Part of it has to go to equities.
So there is something called wealth effect, and the wealth effect gets created because of aggregate prosperity. The uptick in land prices, the movement in the parallel economy also has created a lot of wealth effect, which also leads to consumption and production demand. My only fear is that the wheel will start reversing. I'm not saying the wheel will break, but the wheel for sure will get jammed.
Which is what we are talking of, the transition period, Nikunj. And it is anyone's guess that whether that transition period is 3-6 months or 1 year or 2 years. But this transition period, that pain will be there. You are right that it's no denying the fact that everyone has an estimate, and people have been calling me since the morning, and someone says that there will be 1 lakh crore rupees or 2 lakh crore rupees or 3 lakh crore rupees. So that wealth actually will go out of the people's hand and it will go to the government, Because see what will happen, let's say there is a 17 lakh crore rupees which is in circulation of 500 or 1000 rupee note. If people who have got black money, people who have got humongous amount of cash in their hand, if they are not able to go and deposit that money, and there is 1 lakh crore or 2 lakh crore rupees which is not deposited, then what happens to that? It actually benefits the government. It either reduces the debt of the government or it reduces the fiscal deficit.
Oh, absolutely.
Which, again, you can argue both ways. Here the wealth effect has gone.
No, please complete
The
that
wealth
point,
effect has
Madhu.
gone from one side, but it will benefit the government on the other side. It will benefit the government on the other side. Now, what that number is anyone's guess. And we will know it by 31st December, what that number is.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that. But Madhu, it's interesting to hear you sound optimistic at a time when it's looking quite gloomy out there, whether you track global cues or the local news event. How bad can it get in the interim before it gets better? If you were to kind of put a number there, because that's what's grappling most people. They don't know. And we spoke to Howard Marks a little while back, who's saying that look, the uncertainty can lead to a substantial sell-off in risky assets. But how bad before it gets better? Because long term, I'm completely with you. This seems to be the way forward.
Yeah, it could be volatile, it could be bad. I have no clue. Trust me, your guess is as good as mine. How bad does it go in the next 2 days, next 5 days, 1 month? I don't know. I am saying, which is why my point is, don't jump, don't invest everything what you have at one go. Use this opportunity in a very systematic manner, build that portfolio. And you see, there are 95% of Indians who do not have any exposure to equity. They have exposure to everything else but equities. My point is that, if the market actually dips the way it has dipped and if this correction lasts for the next 10 days, 15 days, 1 month, 2 months, I am saying this, use this as an opportunity to systematically build your equity portfolio, and this transition period, this period of uncertainty will go away, and obviously then we will start again talking about fundamentals. There could also be near-term challenges to earnings. Some sectors like, let's say, luxury goods sector or real estate sector or the jewelry sector, those sectors will also go through the earning correction over the next 1, 2, 3 quarters. So obviously you can't go and buy everything in this market. You have to be very selective and you have to be very systematic. One point which I want to mention, Nikunj, it makes me tremendously proud as an Indian that we have a Prime Minister who could take this decision, and this was an extremely bold decision. I do not think, as you rightly said yourself, even after independence, we have seen something as bold as this. And now this has happened, it has positive, it has negative, a lot of people will get hurt. But as a country as a whole, net, we will turn out to be a very, very positive country out of all this in due course of time. And a lot of foreign friends of mine have called me since yesterday. The foreigners have taken it extremely positive.
It's clearly visible. I mean, the most matured market, Madhu, somewhere is the treasury market, and the treasury market has not panicked. What happens in equity market is a function of technical sentiment and also your positioning. So, Madhu, before I think of a question, I know you have the answer, and you have the answer for this one. Every time when big changes happen in a country, or structural and social changes they happen, they give you new set of opportunities. So based on this transition, black money becoming white money, macros getting better, where do you think bulk of earnings will now move? What could now become as a leadership sector?
Yeah, banks have the potential to become leadership sector. NBFC companies have potential to become leadership sector. Wherever you think that this financial saving is moving, our business will become very good. I think mutual funds will do very well in due course of time. So I think wherever this financial saving is moving away from real estate and from cash economy into financial asset, those are the sectors which will do well. But let me just clarify it. I am not making a case for investing for the next 3 months. I am making a case for investing now for the next 5 years. And the next 3 months volatility, the next 3 months dip is what people must use systematically to invest.
Cost of capital now will come down, which means there would be pressure on interest rates. The so-called parallel economy inflation which existed in the system was making cost of products very inefficient. Now that inefficiency gets away, cost of capital will come down in a very strong manner. There is a big reset. So if I work with the assumption that cost of capital will come down, what kind of dynamism and what kind of dynamic changes we could see at the balance sheet level for corporate India?
Again, it will be positive for banks because clearly, as you said, inflation should come down logically. And now, how much time does it take? What does it happen in 1-2 quarters, or it takes a little longer for things to stabilize? See, a lot of things will unfold. So it's very easy to talk today, but I am saying we will have to give some time to the real markets in the real economy also as to how dynamically these changes will be made, how good the transition will happen. But eventually, interest rate will come down, and it will benefit banks. It will benefit corporate India. It will benefit people who are borrowing. And once the cost of capital goes down, then everything actually the way of doing business becomes viable.
Right. Okay, so Madhu, you've said that clearly there is an opportunity in this panic, there's an opportunity in this uncertainty. Put in the context of how India will be looked upon as a market from foreign investors' perspective. And you said that a lot of foreigners are very positive on India. So that story about India standing out among emerging markets, irrespective of who wins the elections in the US, continues. India will have the the bandwidth to outperform even so?
Yeah, it has a bandwidth to outperform, and I look at the American election again as a positive for India. See, mark this, Mr. Trump has not spoken one word negative about India throughout the election campaign. On a contrary, he spoke that India is going to be our biggest friend if I become the president. If I'm not mistaken, I read it somewhere. So I'm just saying, from a strategically perspective, I think our relationship in this new regime could actually be very, very good with the American government, and that will enable that a lot of American companies which want to invest money anywhere else in India, given the opportunity in India, we should see actually substantial amount of money in due course, even via FDI coming into India. And of course, FIIs, if there is a panic, let's assume that we saw today, if there is a panic, I am sure there are lots of people who are wanting to increase allocation to India because they clearly see that this 7-8% kind of a growth is not there anywhere in the world, and they have no choice but to buy. So if things become cheaper, I think that whole process will become even more attractive.
Okay. Madhu, let's talk about where the challenges are real and where challenges could be disruptive in nature. You mentioned real estate. I can extend that list. I can talk about liquor. I can talk about jewelry, anything which has got to do with maybe farm income, two-wheelers. So what now becomes areas where you were earlier slightly bullish, optimistic, now you want to avoid because the way the wheel will move now?
I think today, Nikunj, we will have plenty of time to talk about sector. We will have plenty of time to talk about investing themes and all. I want to keep today is the theme is simple for a lot of people who have missed out on investing equity, who have been left out, and who have been buying alternate asset. My simple point is first you make a decision that I want to put 5%, 10%, 15%, 20% in equity systematically over a period of time, and I want to move my money into the financial asset. And my first advice is, you choose the credible mutual fund schemes who have a track record of 10, 15, 20 years, divide it into 2 or 3 fund houses, and start investing systematically into equities. So that is the core thing. Then after that, which sectors to buy, which companies to buy, people have to pay fee to us, and I am sure our fund managers will do that job. And in detail, what the implications of this move is and what the implication of this American presidential election is, let's observe things for a few days, and then we can talk about individual sector investing themes.
We won't get into sectors, but I'll take the clock back and talk about a conversation I remember we had on the Brexit day on the same forum, and that day it appeared that the map of the world is going to change and the geopolitical crisis would would dawn on us. It looked like the end of the world the day Brexit happened. A week from then, things settled down. So do you think today what we are discussing when it comes to American election, end of the world and the impact of black money and how it will break the Indian society, do you think that's today's conversation, maybe next week's conversation? But when we will look back a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, today's date would be remembered as a day which gave long-term investors a great buying opportunity?
Yeah, it may not turn the clock in 1 week. I'm not as optimistic as I was on the Brexit day, because this is a very different event. As you said, the wealth effect in India is it will shake up a lot of people. So I think it may take a little time this time for the things to settle down. But obviously, if you look at 1 year down the line, you will see that was a great opportunity. I have no doubt in that in my mind.
Madhu, so what is it that you're looking at? I mean, I know, one can't really pinpoint whether it's going to be today or tomorrow, but how long could this stretched period of a lull or weakness for our markets and the world at large? Because the world, I guess, is going to adjust to a new president in the US of A regime as well. And if indeed it's Trump, God knows what's going to happen. Are we looking at an elongate 3-month period of weakness for the markets, or could it drift to, say, a year as well? A year from now, when we would be talking to you, would equities still be the best asset class, giving the highest returns?
Yeah. So, Aisha, honest answer from heart. One, the price correction, I do not think will last very long. Maybe that will be done in the next few weeks or so. But I think I don't know about the time correction. I don't know how long markets can remain lull. That I don't have an answer. Even I would like to evaluate. I would like to see what is the impact which is happening of all these changes which have happened on the real economy. How much will the earnings get hit? So how much time will be spent is not known today. But as I said, and I must respond to your question, that 1 year down the line, 2 years down the line, we'll be looking at this event and we'll be seeing that was a real great opportunity to invest into equities. Let's not forget that it's not going to be easy making money in everywhere else. That if you put your money in, for instance, in real estate, or if you are buying diamond, or if you are buying jewelry, wherein you have made money 10%, 15% every year after year because those prices have kept going up. I'm not too sure for how long you will have to make money, how long you have to wait to make money in diamonds now.
No, Madhu, I can assure you, none of us here are big believers in diamond
So
or
diamonds are
gold
girls'
jewelry.
best friends.
Not us girls.
Tanveer?
No.
I'd like.
Yeah, really? Okay.
It'd be a good time.
Not for
gold,
me.
diamond. Yeah.
Okay. No, okay, that's the view then really coming in on equities. So Madhu, I mean, given the weakness and given the haze sort of that the equity markets are going to be in for the next year to come, time-wise as well as price-wise correction, what would you actually go back to the drawing board and try to book out of? You're bullish in financials, that's something that you've talked about already. What are you negative on with the recent developments across the globe and back home?
Anything which is, all these items of luxury good we talk about, I think real estate will get hit in the short term, definitely. Anything which is, where there were a lot of cash involved will definitely get negatively impacted. So the only good part, why it is not very reflective in the market, because majority of the market, now whether it is pharmaceutical or whether it is IT industries or whether it is financials, which have huge weightages in the indices, they will not get severely impacted. It is a smaller sector and the subsectors which are going to get impacted, for which, as I said, today is not the day. I would like to watch myself, because this is the unprecedented move. We have had no history, we have had no learnings from the past on this. We would like to watch ourselves as to how severely some of these businesses will get impacted and then make an assessment. But I think the point which I made, majority of the sector, why it is not getting even reflected, that panic which is there in the real economy, it's not reflected in the stock market in that sense, because majority of the sectors may not get impacted who have a lot of weightages on the indices.
True, banks have 35%, IT pharma, they remain isolated, and because of the Trump victory, I guess somewhere farmers outperforming the market per se. So Madhu, Final question, closing comments. Let's not talk about this week, next week, 1 month, 1 quarter, 3 years from now. By that time, a lot of changes would have happened to the economy. The black money transition would have synced in, a new supply chain, a new supply line would have started. What kind of market, what kind of economy do you think we could be staring at?
3 years down the line, one thing I can tell you for certain, I'm very confident that equity as an asset class will be one of the best asset classes to invest in. And I think that answers everything.
The eternal bull, Madhu Kela. Madhu, such a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for taking the time out and chatting with us today.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.